Hey all you heroes out there! I'm your professional protagonist, and today on Hell Yeah Gaming we're doing something a little bit different. Normally if I am doing any kind of news coverage sort of thing, it's always because it's Nintendo Direct and announcing video games and whatnot. But today we got something else that I wanted to look at, and as you can see, I'm in my Fallout hoodie. I've got myself an ice cold Nuka-Cola ready to go, and my best buddy Vault Boy is by my side because we are going to take a look at the first official look of the Fallout TV show that's been released by Vanity Fair. So we have ourselves our cover page here. Cover page, not like I'm talking about an actual magazine. No, we got ourselves, okay, our headline, Fallout First Look, This Is How the World Ends, with a smiling thumbs up. The globally popular video game has become an epic TV series from Westworld creator Jonathan Nolan. So, for those of you unaware, Jonathan Nolan is, I think he's the brother of Christopher Nolan, famous film director Christopher Nolan. I think brother might be related in a different way, but I am not really familiar with Westworld. I have heard that, the first season is amazing, and then largely the opinion is that after the first season it kind of falls off. However, I am much more familiar with the work that he has done with Christopher Nolan, particularly the Dark Knight trilogy, as well as The Prestige, which is one of my all-time favorite movies. So knowing that he is the main force on here, actually gives me a pretty significant boost of confidence. So we scroll on down here. All right, we got Ella Purnell emerges from her underground vault in Fallout. Interesting. I have not taken a look at any of this just yet. So we can. It looks pretty decent. I want to say, she's coming out of the vault right now, so I wouldn't expect her to look super grimy or dirty. The outside of the vault door looks really good. It's I think they said it's going to be Vault 33, and information that we've had released before is that it's supposed to take place in Los Angeles, which, for all of you who are not aware or familiar with the first two Fallout games, LA is known as the Boneyard, and is deep in NCR territory. Now, Fallout often looks like the distant past, but it's really the far-off future. And actually, it's the end of life as we know it. Well, it's the end of the world as we know it. I guess end of life as we know it. I guess that tracks, I guess. Yeah. Ignore me. In the new series, debuting on Amazon's Prime Video on April 12th, a nuclear war breaks out across the Earth in the year 2077. Yes, just before Halloween. Which is, or was, an era of robots, hover cars, and a deep and abiding nostalgia for the America of the 1940s. Everything from the clothes to the entertainment to the vehicles mimic the look of that bygone age, albeit with a sci-fi tilt. That retro-futurist aesthetic was one of the charms of the mega-selling video game series that inspired the show. So this is just kind of giving some basic information for anyone who's unfamiliar with Fallout as a whole. Obviously, that's not me or us, since, I am doing a whole video series on, how I would make my own Fallout game. And obviously, mass extinction is just the starting point for Fallout, which was developed for TV by Westworld creators and husband and wife Jonathan Nolan and Lisa Joy. Okay, so they're working on it as co-creators, and you squeezed her out of the headline? Anthony Bresnikan Anthony Bresnikan, I apologize if I'm butchering your name there. I don't know if that was your call or an editor's call, but that's kind of, that's not cool. That's not cool. After the incendiary mushroom clouds, the story flashes forward 219 years. How did humanity fare over those blighted 2 centuries? So 219 years from the Great War, 2077. 219 means 2296. 2296, which would put it the furthest in the timeline for Fallout. And the video hasn't come out just yet, but little sneak peek. Next episode of the Let's Make a Fallout Game video, I do cover some of that. Or no, I did cover that information. Never mind. Yeah, 2290 is the year that I was setting Fallout Red State for. So this is actually 6 years even after my planned, like, theoretical Fallout game. Okay. Lucy, one of the lead characters, played by Yellow Jacket star Ella Purnell, has no clue. She is also the voice of Jinx in the Netflix. What is that live service game that I don't play at all and don't like? League of Legends. Yes, the show based off of League of Legends, Arcane. Okay. I don't think I know her from anything else. I probably do, but nothing like coming off the top of my head. She has lived her entire life in a subterranean vault, where every need and want has been satisfied, while generations and generations await the day when it is safe to surface. Well, most vaults opened a long-ass time ago, so... Well, the ones that survived, anyway. If she's had all of her wants and needs serviced, then it sounds like this might have been a control vault and not one of the many, many, many experiments. Let's see. Ella Purnell as Lucy and Kyle MacLachlan as her father. The vault overseer, Hank, safely ensconced below ground. Well, they look pretty happy. I don't imagine that there's a horrific vault-tech experiment going on here. Current is the same across each resistor. Voltage is... Okay, so learning about electrical physics here. Cool. When a crisis forces Lucy to venture above on a rescue mission, she finds that the planet above remains a hellscape, crawling with giant insects, voracious mutant animal abominations, and a human population of sun-baked miscreants who make the manners, morals, and hygiene of the gunslinging Old West look like Downton Abbey. Hey. California has had a lot of glow up since the Great War, okay? This isn't the capital wasteland. I would say a crisis forces her above ground on a rescue mission. Sounds very similar to what instigates the plot of the first Fallout game, where the water chip of the vault breaks and you're sent out to try to go find one. The games are about the culture of division and haves and have-nots that, unfortunately, have only gotten more and more acute in this country and around the world over the last decades. Nolan tells Vanity Fair for the exclusive first look. That right there, right off the top, tells me that he knows pretty well how Fallout works and has a good finger on the pulse of modern society as well. Lucy is nice, but Lucy is naive. In the Fallout universe, the human beings fortunate enough to ride out the apocalypse in underground communities only had that option available to them because they had money. Forcing doe-eyed Lucy out into the sadistic Darwinian remnant of civilization opens the door for Fallout to engage in some social satire, as well as action and adventure. Like HBO's hit The Last of Us, which was also adapted from a blockbuster video game, The End of the World offers a rich opportunity to comment on the real one. Yes, it absolutely does, and that is what it's all about. I want politics in my Fallout. It was always political from the beginning. Everything about it was very critical of capitalism, the military-industrial complex, nationalism, so all of these things. Okay, well, we got a bunch of ads going on around here, so I apologize. We get to talk about that in a wonderful, speculative fiction way, says Nolan, who directed the first 3 episodes. I think we're all looking at the world and going, God, things seem to be heading in a very, very frightening direction. Yes, they are. They've been there for a while, and they're just getting worse. As Westworld demonstrated, Nolan has a fascination with the mix of mythology and psychology that make up human nature. His characters typically believe one thing about themselves while behaving in a radically different way under pressure. He previously created the series Person of Interest, about a world in which crimes and terrorism can be predicted in advance, and co-wrote such films as, The Prestige, The Dark Knight, yeah, and Interstellar with his filmmaker brother. Yes, okay, I was correct, brother. Christopher Nolan. Jonathan, who goes by Jonah, is fond of plunging his fictional test subjects into situations that unsettle their deeply held beliefs. So many of us have such naive ideas, even now, about everyone else's experiences, and it's one of the things I love about America. It's this giant manic collection of different experiences, different points of view, Nolan says. True. Desperation only exacerbates those fissures in Fallout, as Purnell's do-gooder soon discovers. Lucy is charming and plucky and strong, and then you see she's confronted with the reality of, hey, maybe the supposedly virtuous things you grew up with are not necessarily that virtuous. If they are virtuous, they're couched in a circumstantial virtuousness. It's a luxury virtue. You have your point of view because you never ran out of food, right? You guys were able to share everything because you had enough to share. Oh my God, yes. Everything about this tells me that Jonathan Nolan absolutely understands. He absolutely gets it. And knowing his writing style from the sources that I do, admittedly, everything that I'm intimately familiar with was co-done with his brother, so I can't say, how much was who. Everything about it feels very promising to me, and I really hope that this comes out great. The Fallout series tracks her collision with the hard reality of other people's experiences and what happened to the people who, frankly, were left behind, left to die, Nolan says. Alright, we get ourselves some power armor, which looks a bit clean, if I'm going to be honest. A squad of soldiers from the Brotherhood of Steel and the Brotherhood. Well, oh yeah, they got the insignias right there, Brotherhood, yeah. In their power armor suits in the new series Fallout. Okay, Brotherhood. So this is taking place West Coast. West Coast Brotherhood was not in a very good position last we saw them in Fallout New Vegas. Admittedly, we mostly only saw the Mojave chapter, but they were not really able to have a whole lot of contact with the rest of the Western Brotherhood. So, this tells me that, well, we'll go on. I mean, they could still just be a handful, a pocket. We'll see. Fallout is leavened by the same twisted sense of Fallout is leavened by the same twisted sense of humor that made the video game so appealing. The ubiquitous logo of Lucy's people, the Vault Dwellers, is a winking cartoon who perpetually flashes a giant smile and the thumbs up sign. This Vault Boys iconography originated in the games, and was intended to be an ironic, tone-deaf contrast to the hard-scrabble existence of those who endure on the surface. Very much so. Nolan enjoys determination to maintain that mordant comedy was the key to making the world work as a series, says game maker Todd Howard. The director of 2008's Fallout 3 and 2015's Fallout 4, and the executive producer at Bethesda. Yes, Todd Howard. We all know Todd. It just works, Todd. We had a lot of conversations over the style of humor, the level of violence, the style of violence, says Howard, who's also an executive producer of the show. Look, Fallout can be very dramatic and dark and post-apocalyptic, but you need to weave in a little bit of a wink. I think they threaded that needle really well on the TV show. Well, I hope so, because comedy is a very deeply entrenched aspect of Fallout, but it's a very specific kind of comedy. It's something to help take the edge off of how horrible things are, but also the satire that it makes, particularly in the new groups, the new organizations that arise from the ashes of civilization, making their own societies that mirror or are inspired by the civilizations of the past, but often in a very exaggerated or extremist way. Let's see. Vault Boy not only appears in the show, but the imagery even gets an origin story, which we won't spoil here. An origin story for the cute mascot? That was something they came up with that's just really smart, Howard says. Okay. Don't know how I feel about that, but we'll see. Fans of the game should know that everything in the series is officially part of Fallout lore, and Bethesda was careful to make sure the scripts could coexist with previous storylines from the gaming titles. We view what's happening in the show as canon, says Howard. That's what's great, when someone else looks at your work and then translates it in some fashion. He admits to being envious of some of the TV show's interpretations and additions. I sort of looked at it like, why didn't we do that? I can answer that very, very immediately and quickly and definitively, but that would be very rude, Todd. Okay, so it's the show is canon to the games. Gonna be honest, I appreciate the idea of that, but I was really more hoping that this would be its own thing. It could be, just its own little universe that gives it a lot more freedom to do whatever they want to do with it. That said, that's going to be very tricky to pull off, especially with this being on the West Coast, where things work very differently than how Bethesda has established things to be working in their primary area of the East Coast. That concerns me a lot. I'm hopeful, but is that the Bridwin? What? Brotherhood of Steel recruits gaze upon the vertibirds hovering around an airship called the Caswanon. Marveling at the rare pieces of high-functioning hardware. Okay, so not the Pridwin, which is good. The Caswanon. This, especially with them saying that this is supposed to be canon-friendly and all that, this actually does concern me a lot. The fact that the West Coast Brotherhood is not in a good place, and rightly so, and they probably shouldn't have been. The New California Republic is the superpower. They tried to go to war with the NCR, and found out that it doesn't matter how many guns you have, how big your firepower is. When you're outnumbered 100-1, you're gonna lose. Their whole thing is like just being very, very staunch, very unmoving and unyielding in their beliefs, and really not doing a whole lot to rebuild society or create anything new. They just zealously hoard technology. And as a result, they went from, being a major regional superpower in the first Fallout to being kind of more of a bit player in Fallout 2. And then by New Vegas, they are a shell of their... they're like a small remnant. So the fact that there's a whole airship, the Caswanon, here at this point, and they seem to have rebuilt a lot of their people, their forces. So that tells me that either they aren't being super friendly with the lore, which wouldn't surprise me at all, considering, like, despite what Todd Howard said previously, it's kind of in Bethesda's mission statement that they disregard game lore. Like, this mostly is in regards to Elder Scrolls, but they disregard history lore if it's inconvenient for the story that they want to tell presently. So I can't say, like, that kind of thing surprises me, but so it's either that or they have selected the various outcomes and endings of New Vegas to be canon, and one of those things that they've selected is the Brotherhood, or at least the Mojave chapter of the Brotherhood, forming an alliance with the NCR against Caesar's Legion, which led to them uneasily working together, but still working together. So that's the only way I could see the West Coast Brotherhood having this capability. The prospect for a Fallout film or TV show has been in the ether for years, but Howard was always resistant to it. I've taken countless meetings with producers or heard pitches, and nothing ever felt like the right fit, he says. Or maybe I was wondering a little, how will it affect the franchise? I took a very cautious approach. Howard is an admirer of Interstellar, which he cites as one of the inspirations for Bethesda's latest game, Starfield. Yeah, that makes sense. He talks about Starfield. The movies he's worked on are some of my favorites, and I'd heard that he liked video games and had an eye for that stuff, Howard says. Him and his brother Christopher together, yeah, they are gamers. I'd said to somebody, and I won't say who, but I was taking a meeting with another producer and said, before I talk to other people, I want to hear that Jonah Nolan says he'll never do it. Oh, that's a lot of pressure and a lot of confidence in him. That led to a conversation between the two, and Nolan actually was interested. He and Joy acquired the rights through their Kilter Films production company, then set about inventing new characters and trials and tribulations with executive producers and writers Geneva Robertson Dworet, co-writer of Captain Marvel, and Graham Wagner, veteran of The Office, Portlandia, and Silicon Valley, who serve as Fallout's showrunners. Okay, so both of these are very comedic writers. Never. So, but I don't know how either of them fare in terms of the drama, the intensity, violence, and philosophical introspection of that's necessary for Fallout, though. Not to saying that I don't have confidence in them for it, just I'm not familiar with how they would be for it. Howard says he and Bethesda were sold when Nolan and his team proposed building an entirely new story within the existing realm Fallout. I agree with that. I don't want to see the rehash of a story that we've already played through. I did not want to do an interpretation of an existing story we did, Howard says. That was the other thing. A lot of the pitches were, this is the movie of Fallout 3, and I was like, yeah, we told that story. I don't have a lot of interest seeing those translated. One of the few things I will agree with Todd Howard on wholeheartedly, yes. I was interested in someone telling a unique Fallout story. Treat it like a game. It gives the creators... Treat it like a game. You can't treat a movie or a show like a game. I don't understand what that's supposed to mean. It gives the creators of the series their own playground to play in. I guess maybe he's saying like treat it like one of their RPGs, um, where they just kind of have the freedom to do what they want. But that also kind of goes against what he was saying before about being like really protective and cautious. Okay. Whoa, yeah, that we get the scale of the power armor right here with this guy. Wow. Wowzers. Dang. Okay, so this power. Oh, really? We're going with the Fallout 4 aesthetic and assault right? No, no, don't like that. Don't like that. Well, I can look past it. I can look past it. Okay, so yeah, this costume does look a little cosplay-y, but I do like it. I do like it a lot, actually. I think this can work really well. Aaron Moten as Maximus, the new squire for a power suit knight dispatched on behalf of the Brotherhood of Steel. Okay, so this would be our squire here, Maximus. As the Fallout show progresses, Lucy's journey intersects with the two other lead characters who are new to the universe. One of them is the wannabe soldier Maximus, Aaron Moten, the tragic PD from The Night of. Never heard of him, don't know a single thing about him. Who grew up above ground, but, like Lucy, was also raised in a cloistered family of sorts, a brutal collective of warriors called the Brotherhood of Steel. Okay, they're at least this article's writer is confirming that the Brotherhood is brutal. So the NCR alliance ending seeming a little bit less. I don't know. Well, but I mean, I'm glad that the West Coast Brotherhood is still who they are. It's a little bit of the Marine Corps. It's a little bit of the Knights Templar. It's this kind of weird fusion, Nolan says. In the absence of a federal government, you just had all this military hardware lying around. Who would get it, and how would they maintain control of it? The answer is the Brotherhood, which Nolan describes as being fueled by a mutated version of patriotism, religion, loyalty, and fraternity. Yeah, that describes the Brotherhood pretty damn well. Medieval knights of yore with modern military. Their control comes from the battalions of super soldier knights in shining power armor who stalk the landscape, enforcing the Brotherhood's notion of order. Maximus fills a role that's straight out of medieval times. He's a squire, Nolan says. This is a drawing on the classic Arthurian knight legends where life was cheap and you had a squire as long as they were useful. They had to prove their worth. They had to prove their valor and their strength, and if they didn't, they were kind of cast aside. Not quite how the squire system works in the Brotherhood, but he's just drawing parallels for audience sake, I think. Okay. That looks good. I mean, it does look kind of Hollywood set-y. A bit clean, but I do like it. I think it gets the aesthetic down, the look real good. Ella Purnell's Lucy enters Philly, an apparent junkyard that is actually a town of survivors in the remnants of greater Los Angeles, who cobbled together their village from scrap. Okay. Max serves the giant, seemingly robotic figure of his master with the same naive faith that Lucy has in her vault dwellers. But unlike her, he has a cynical sense of self-preservation that leads him to not always behave honorably or heroically. One of the things we're trying to gently sidestep here is that kind of binary thinking, like, they're the good guys or the bad guys, Nolan says. Whoever the good guys and the bad guys were, they destroyed the whole world. So now we're in a much more gray area. Yes! Like every time Nolan talks here, he gets it. I understand that he gets it. Oh. There is no black and white, good and bad in Fallout. There's differing points of view in differing shades of gray, oftentimes with one or two, very, very definitely, bad guys, but you can understand why they believe what they do. It's a system of conflicting ideologies battling for survival. Fallout's world is filled by a sprawling ensemble, including Kyle MacLachlan as Lucy's father, the overseer of Vault 33, which essentially makes him the mayor of their hometown, while Homeland's Sarita Chaudhuri, is that right, is a different kind of leader in this world, willing to sacrifice anything for her band of people. Moises Arias, who is, as a child, played Rico on Hannah Montana, co-stars as Lucy's inquisitive brother. Co-stars. Okay. Sounds like he's coming out with her to the Wasteland, then. Haven't seen anything about him, though. Michael Emerson, who starred in Nolan's Person of Interest, is best known as Hatch inhabitant Benjamin Linus on Lost. Never watched it, don't know a single thing about it or him. Stays above ground this time, playing an enigmatic researcher named Wilzig. Most of the disparate parties are chasing an artifact that has the potential to radically change the power dynamic in this world, as Nolan puts it. So they're searching after a MacGuffin, which sounds like Lucy is trying to get it for the Vault. Maximus probably trying to get it for the Brotherhood, probably so they can rise up against the NCR. Oh, I like this. That's a ghoul. That is a ghoul right there. Walter Goggins in a moment of repose as the ghoul. Oh, he's not just a ghoul. He's the ghoul in the upcoming Fallout series. Then there's Fallout's wild card, its third lead figure, the sinister bounty hunter known as the Ghoul, played by Django Unchained and Hateful Eight's Walter Goggins. Okay, so he's a Western and cowboy movie veteran. I couldn't tell. Okay, so fitting. The Ghoul is a gruesomely scarred Rough Rider who has a code of honor, but also a ruthless streak. He's the good, the bad, and the ugly all rolled into one. He's also quite a survivor, having existed for hundreds of years. So he's a pre-war ghoul then. Okay. The show occasionally flashes back to the human being he once was, a father and husband named Cooper Howard, before the nuclear holocaust turned the world into a cinder and transformed him into an undead, noseless, sharpshooting fiend. Sounds like he might have some similarities with our good buddy Raoul, played by Danny Trejo. In the Fallout games, ghouls are typically cannon fodder, mindless zombies whose bodies have been mutated by radiation. Okay, mindless that's taking it a bit far. I mean, it's Bethesda's Fallout games and the way that they do enemies spawns, I think, has created an unfair stereotype viewpoint of ghouls, an unfair image of them, because most of them are supposed to be sane and maintaining their sentience. It's supposed to be a minority that have become feral after the radiation change. But, you know, just when you have hordes of them coming down on you, that image gets switched real quick. The Ghoul is a legend, distinct among his kind for his cleverness and cunning. There's still something of Cooper Howard, the person who he used to be within this desiccated form. Walton's equally adept at drama and comedy, which is so difficult, Nolan says. Yes, it is. There is a chasm in time and distance between who this guy was and who he's become, which for me creates an enormous dramatic question. What happened to this guy? So we'll walk backwards into that. All right. So through this guy, we're going to be able to experience what it was like in the pre-war era, pre-Great War anyway. The American Sino War was still very much a thing, and the resource war and all that. Okay, so we'll probably see like what the political climate was, what life was like as all the resources were dwindling and being taken, and then get to experience firsthand the bombs dropping and then the transition of society. He compares the ghoul to the poet Virgil in Dante's Inferno, someone in this hellish landscape who knows its full scope, origin, and secrets. He becomes our guide and our protagonist in that older world, even as we understand him to be the antagonist at the end of the world, Nolan says. Okay, so he's like our main antagonistic force, but we're gonna see his perspective and how the world has gone to hell. The games have already created a template for how creatures like him look, but that was dialed back for Gauguin's character. For one, he's smarter than the average ghoul. Again, most ghouls are supposed to be sentient and smart. Unless you're saying that he's actually, like, really intelligent. Like, he got big brain energy. He would naturally have a different physique and face. Why would being more intelligent mean that he has a different fit? Okay. But there's also a practical reason for him to make him less ghoulish. I'm assuming that it's going to have to do with the actor being able to emote under prosthetics. He would naturally have a... No. You have to be extremely careful with it when you're putting on a full appliance of someone's face, because you hired that actor for a reason, Nolan says. Yes. Their face is their instrument. The tiny little expressions and the changes that they make. Yeah, got it. I was right. So yeah, he's definitely not as scarred and rotting as most ghouls. You can see, like, his skin's a lot more smooth. I mean, you can see some like bumpage here. I got the noseless prosthetic there. Looks actually pretty good. Eyes. The eyes are different though. Most ghouls, their eyes are like totally blacked over. So that's interesting. They probably, like, that's probably again just a choice for the actor. The missing nose gives the ghoul a corpse-like appearance. He has actually survived for many centuries. Prosthetics designer Vincent van Dyke, who worked on Leonardo DiCaprio's character in Killers of the Flower Moon, never seen it, devised the look of the ghoul. I need to be able to see Walton in his performance. He needs to look like a ghoul from the game, and he needs to be kind of hot. Nolan's... Oh, it needs to be kind of hot, huh? Oh yeah, Jonah Nolan? You and your wife got a particular type? You got some things you like to do together? Inviting a tricycle into it? Into it a bit of necrosis. I should stop while I'm ahead. The last part turned out to be literally true. The first day we were shooting with Walton in makeup, he comes to set and I'm looking at him like, Walton, are you crying? He just had sweat leaking out of the prosthetics under his eyes because it was so hot. Ooh, God. Don't like that. Don't like that. I hate heat. If Lucy is the innocent of the show, then the ghoul is her polar opposite, damaged and hardened by his centuries of endless life in a state of near death. He's got a lot of mileage on him, but he's still got a swagger and kind of a charm to him, Nolan says. Like its anti-heroes, the world of Fallout has to maintain an appeal despite its grim aspects. It's a dark world in many ways, Nolan says. But the games were fun to play, fun to explore, and I think that was a mandate for us, to make sure that it was enjoyable to spend time in this universe. I agreed, like, it has to be enjoyable, or else it just becomes too depressing, and then you shut your emotions down. And refuse to engage with the material anymore. All right, this is a fun image. So, clearly a shot of her like after she's out of the vault. Don't know if this is supposed to be like on-set filming or, well, I mean, obviously he's not filming, but or if this was just kind of like, a photo shoot with the costume. Because if this was like, supposed to be on set shooting some scenes, I would expect her to be a lot more dirtied up at this point. Not familiar with this gun at all. They got some little canisters down here, which is interesting. The Pit Boy. I can't wait to see what they do with the Pit Boy, actually. Jonah Nolan poses with Ella Purnell in this behind-the-scenes image from the Fallout series. Okay. All right. So we got that's our final look. Okay. So my final thoughts at this point is that I'm actually feeling very optimistic about it. Like I do have some concerns which I have voiced, but I don't think that any of them outpace the good feelings that I'm getting. I really, truly feel like this is going to be probably not another Last of Us situation where it was, a huge monumental thing that got so many people like into the series and had such widespread acclaim. I don't think it's going to be like another Last of Us show like that, but I do think that it's going to be solid. I do think it's going to be good for what it is, and I think that it's going to be more enjoyable than not. And as far as I'm concerned, that's a win. So, hey. Thank you all so much for watching. Let me know what you think is going to be happening here with the Fallout show. If you think it looks like it's gonna work out or not, or something in between, let me know in the comments below. And hey, I am working on a whole video series on how I would make my own video game set in the Fallout universe called Fallout Red State. So you should go ahead and watch that whole playlist right now, and if you do, I would love you forever! And just remember, I don't want to set the world on fire, but I do want to give it a great big hell yeah!